Hey there, I'm Beth Connors, a midwife and mom of two, but also your birth bestie. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into everything you need to feel confident, prepared, and in control, from baby bump to delivery room, from practical tips to personal stories. We'll cover it all so you know exactly what to expect every step of the way. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Your Birth Bestie podcast. Today we are talking about calm, non-rushed hospital birth because rushing the natural birth process is actually my biggest birth pet peeve. It often is totally unnecessary, but especially happens in the hospital setting, whether it's an induction, breaking your bag of water at a certain point in labor, or using Pitocin. With interventions and disruptions to that physical birth process, it often starts that cascade of medical intervention, which then gets mom more out of her comfort zone and more into this medically managed cycle. It's an unnatural place that leads to lack of control and sometimes even chaos. So neither of anything that we want during birth, right? And my biggest concern for moms is that they will be rushed or have unwanted intervention. So these are what I work with moms throughout their entire pregnancy with, and then help them advocate for them during their birth so these things don't happen and they can have that non-rushed, calm hospital birth or birth in general, whatever setting that they're choosing. So I'm here to tell you that you can have control of your labor, even if it's taking longer than expected in the hospital setting and they're trying to push things along. You can have that low intervention or no intervention birth in the hospital. It may be against the status quo a little bit, but with the right preparation and information and confidence, you can absolutely do this. So please believe me, don't listen to people that say it's not possible and that everybody should have a home birth in order to make this happen, because even though I love supporting home birth moms, it is not for everybody for many reasons. If you choose a hospital setting for birth, you have the right to feel confident in that choice and actually be excited to have a good experience. So let's jump into 10 tips I have for you to have a calm, non-rushed hospital birth experience. And if you have followed me for a while, you know my first birth experience in 2020 was absolutely the opposite of that. But since then, I thankfully had my own redemptive hospital water birth and have been part of hundreds of women's birth stories and learned a lot about what absolutely not to do and other for sure ways that you can make this happen for you. So the first tip is being an active participant in your labor. It is so important for moms to understand that they have power in their birthing journey. It is not solely the provider's expertise and choice. I really encourage moms not to passively receive care, but be a part of the decision-making process. It is about staying well informed about labor progress and the choices that you have at each point, and then also asking questions and seeking clarification and communicating with the people that are taking care of you. This will help you be an advocate for your best birth experience and lead to more positive outcomes for you. It's about taking control of the controllable things in your birth, and a lot of that preparedness comes beforehand too. Tip number 2 is choosing the right hospital and the right care team for you. Aside from your own feelings about birth and your birth vision and your preparedness that can really allow you to have a positive experience in any birth setting with any provider, no matter what, it is so amazing to have a provider and be within a hospital system that favors the kind of birth experience you want. And to do this, it is all about doing your research and getting recommendations from local moms that maybe you know, or maybe random people in a Facebook group that are often open to sharing their stories and advice. I usually find connecting with other moms in these ways to be very, very helpful. You want to feel comfortable with your birth setting and comfortable with the providers that you are hiring to be with you during this time. And this will really help you reduce any anxiety that you might have about childbirth and also trust the people that are around you to help you make these decisions in the moment during your labor. These are the people that you are going to be working with to have that calm, non-rushed, physiological hospital birth. So you want to choose people that are really supportive of that. I also recommend creating a birth plan with your partner or your support person by 36 weeks and going over it with your provider beforehand so everybody is on the same page when you do go into labor. A birth plan, or really more accurately, a list of birth preferences, acts as a roadmap, not just for pregnant moms, but also for your entire birth team. It can be a powerful communication tool, allowing everyone involved to know what you want and have expectations of how to move forward in various situations. And then also, if something comes up, it's easier to offer you something that is more appropriate for your values and how you want your birth to go during that time. So it's really important that everybody is on the same page and able to support you in the direction that you're wanting to go. Having a birth plan cannot predict your labor and doesn't ensure things won't change. So being flexible is also great and prepared for moments where you might have to deviate for the safety of you or your baby. So this is really important too. If your birth plan is well thought out and adaptable to different scenarios, your experiences will feel so much calmer, so much smoother, and you will definitely have a better experience. Creating birth plans with expecting parents is one of my favorite things because I can help them approach these changes with an open mind and flexibility and make them not feel so scary and feel like they aren't in control. Because the more you prepare, the more you do have that control, which is so empowering for many expecting families. Even if the plan changes, your experience can still be positive, and I promise you that this is the foundation of avoiding birth trauma and loving your birth experience no matter what. So definitely a key part of birth prep and why I love it so much. And the next tip I have for you is one of the more obvious ways to have a calm birth, and that's preparing to manage labor pain. Whether it's natural techniques or medical interventions, there are so many options, and it's important to decide what is best for you or what you think you'll be open to during labor. Make sure to learn about the different coping methods and considering the pros and cons for each. Again, the more you understand these things, the easier it is to make decisions that you can feel good about. There is no best way to go about pain management in labor for everybody. Some moms, for sure, want an unmedicated birth. But then, of course, there's moms that want the epidural as soon as they're in labor and as soon as they can have it. And both are perfect options for those two individual people, which is why there is no one-size-fits-all approach. I do want to mention, though, that even if you do plan to get an epidural, there is a chance that labor will either progress too quickly, and that might not be an option for you, or it might not work as good as you had hoped. And even though that is rare, I think it's still important to prepare for multiple pain management techniques and not rely on one method if your goal is to have a calm birth experience. Okay, so we are halfway through the list with number 5, which is the importance of communicating your birth plan with your healthcare team and being an advocate for exactly what you want. Being confident to speak up for what you want is empowering for moms to make sure that their wishes are respected. And this doesn't mean that you have to feel like the difficult patient or feel that you are being confrontational, but it's more about being a proactive participant in your birth. It's about using your birth plan as a tool to make sure that you have a voice in the hospital, because the more that you feel a part of the decision, or what we call patient-centered care, where your opinion actually does matter, the more comfortable and calm you will feel, which is the goal, right? It is also helpful to understand potential medical interventions during labor, whether that's the use of Pitocin, an epidural, breaking your bag of water, when a C-section is indicated. When you know what the different medical interventions are that might be offered at some point, it's a lot easier to understand whether you agree if it's necessary or not. This is also important for the support people to pay attention to as well. If you can be proactive and anticipate the next steps that might happen, you can likely avoid medical intervention. You can also feel educated and confident in asking for more time for your labor to progress without doing something to intervene and not rushing labor along. This might be appropriate in certain situations too. So, understanding why this is done and deciding ahead of time if it's something that you're okay with or if it's something that you're not is important. Making these decisions beforehand also helps your partner help you when you might be preoccupied with coping in labor too. It's all about informed and empowered decision making. And another tip is to consider hiring a doula as part of your birth support team. There are so many benefits of having a doula present at your birth, but it is not at all required to have a good birth experience. Doulas are experts in labor support and offer a mix of emotional and physical support to help moms navigate any challenges that might come up during labor and delivery. Doulas can also help moms take back the control of a situation by knowing the mom so well through prenatal meetings and really having a great idea of what they would want. That if something seems off, they can be those extra eyes and have the ability to check in with mom or ask a hospital team member for a moment to discuss with the client. Usually that pause and reset when something is starting to change, labor is progressing, or an intervention is recommended. This is enough to keep a calm environment and help labor not feel rushed. If it's necessary, you can politely decline the recommendation and move forward with an alternative plan. So, the role of a doula is really to empower mothers to embrace childbirth and feel supported along the way in whatever may happen. My next tip is to prepare for unexpected scenarios and complications. So you've thought about them at least once, and then you can just kind of put them in the back of your brain for if they do happen, but of course not focusing on any of those negative situations because they are less likely to occur anyways. Hopefully they don't happen, but understanding how to remain informed and engaged, even if something does take a different turn, is really helpful. I encourage parents to be proactive by asking what if questions and being curious to the process of labor and how different scenarios might play out. By being curious and exploring some of these scary complications, they become more controlled and then they feel less scary. That way, if it happens, you are confident in the moment and able to navigate any challenge that comes your way, knowing at any point, too, that you can ask more questions and make sure that it feels like the right choice in the moment. You are the one to make the final decision. Your provider introduces these things to you as they feel appropriate, but ultimately you do have the right to choose what you're comfortable with. And number 9 is a bit of a shift to the postpartum period and preparing ahead for that experience to feel calm and prepared. It's important to have a plan for if you develop signs of postpartum anxiety or depression or have other mental health concerns. It's also good to plan for changes in postpartum and the timeline of that. There is a wide range of normal, but when you can expect certain things to happen postpartum, they seem more manageable and you also feel confident determining the difference between normal versus abnormal and when you should seek more help. Especially if you have never had a baby before, it's new territory. So planning ahead and not having those days postpartum be the first time that you considered how much bleeding there would be or what postpartum cramps feel like and how to help that, how breastfeeding might go, how sleep patterns change, how your body will feel moving around, all of those things. When it is all new, it can be a difficult transition, but when you can expect it and honor your body for just giving birth to a whole human being, it can be a calmer postpartum experience. By just being aware and proactive, moms can hopefully have the tools and the support to navigate this phase successfully and have a positive transition into motherhood. And lastly, number 10 is believing that having a calm, non-rushed hospital birth is possible. Whether you choose hospital birth because it's covered by insurance, you want access to immediate medical intervention if needed, you have a high-risk pregnancy, or any other reason, you may be excited about a hospital birth, but you also may be confused by comparing it to the autonomy and control within a home birth setting. And I just want to instill a sense of hope, confidence, and positivity into expecting moms that it is absolutely possible to become educated and confident and feel ready and excited to have your baby. You don't just throw away your autonomy at the door when you are admitted to the hospital. It can really be so much smoother. There's a collaborative process with your healthcare team, and you can really have the birth experience that you want. Thank you so much for being here today. If you are planning a birth coming up, I encourage you to prepare both mentally and emotionally with a sense of excitement and anticipation rather than anxiety. Trust in your ability to have a positive birth experience. You deserve it, and you have the strength to navigate the challenges and uncertainties of childbirth. A positive hospital birth experience is within reach, and if you'd be interested in chatting more about how I can help you have a calm, non-rushed hospital birth, I invite you to connect with me at bethconnors.com or on Instagram at bethconnors_CNM. I have an online childbirth course, as well as virtual and in-person support services. Thank you so much for being here, and I will be here again next Tuesday. Bye, everyone.